Hello, and welcome back to the Hot Action Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kerr, and we made it. It is week 18 of the NFL season, the final week of the regular season. Just one more week and we're in the playoffs. If we looked at my results, I would be among the teams about to start golfing next week, but for us gamblers, that is not how the playoffs works. We're allowed to keep going regardless of our record in the regular season. We don't have to hang our heads in shame and leave when we go sub 500 on the whole year, which is good news for me because I plan on continuing to gamble. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over what happened last week, and then we're going to make our predictions for this week. And I'm very excited. I'm very excited to have made it to the end here. I didn't know whether I would be able to do all the weeks. I missed 1 week, but I stuck with it. I kept going, and now we're at the end of the regular season. I plan on doing this until the Super Bowl. But yeah, I'm very happy. This is a huge milestone for the Hot Action Podcast. We are at week 18. We're loving it. So, that being said, last week was terrible for your boy. Went 6-10 altogether. Started out with a terrible pick. We took the Jets over Cleveland. This was a mistake. I should have known to continue with Flacco Mania. He couldn't be stopped. The Jets are god awful. Their whole coaching staff should be fired. I don't know what they're going to do next year. I can't imagine Aaron Rodgers is going to be a helpful piece if he gets injured, as easily as he seems to. He's almost 40, or he might even be 40. Whatever. Whole point is, Flacco is old. He's fine. Aaron Rodgers is old. He's bad. I don't know what I was thinking taking the Jets. Then, on the Saturday game, we took Detroit. This game was highly controversial. The outcome was very strange. I don't understand why Dan Campbell went for 2 so many times. I understand going for 2 the initial time. They got screwed up by the refs. I thought Detroit could have won this game outright, potentially, when I bet the plus 5.5. But yeah, I thought that after the first and maybe even the second time going for 2 and failing, you might choose to kick the field goal and go into overtime, especially considering I think Detroit had been playing a bit better than Dallas, after, let's say, the end of the first quarter. I thought they were, playing a bit better. So I would have, tried to take the game to overtime after, moving the ball back those, 5 yards. Strange decision making to me. The refs blew it, but Dan Campbell helped blow it. I don't know. That's all there is to be said about that. Moving on to the Sunday games. Yeah, Vegas and Indy. We took Indy, and I thought this game was going to be a bigger victory, but Indy snuck it out. Half-point margin of victory when you include the spread, 20-23. We like it. Then I foolishly took Atlanta. I don't know what I saw that made me believe in them. Also, Chicago. I can't get a read on this team. Both these teams have been bamboozling me all year. Chicago ended up scoring 37 points. I think that's probably their high water mark for the year, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, so I had to take that L. Then we took Carolina plus 6.5. I kind of felt like a little bit of confidence on them after they had, tangled with Green Bay and almost, they kept it close with Green Bay. Then Jacksonville absolutely hangs a whooping on them, 26-0. I'm on the wrong side of that one, of course. Then Tampa Bay, again, I felt some confidence, and then just right away, New Orleans is spanking them wire to wire. Tampa Bay never really felt like they were going to win, let alone cover. Absolutely demoralizing loss. Then, probably the funniest result of the week. I'm sorry to all the Philly fans. I took Philly to cover, and I can't remember exactly how this game played out, but there was very little time if any, that Philadelphia felt like they were going to cover this 10.5 point spread. And in the end, it kind of just felt like Arizona was doing whatever they wanted to them by the end of the game. They would end up losing 35-31, lose the game outright to Kyler Murray. Arizona, with that win, moves to 4-12. Like, an utterly embarrassing loss for Philadelphia, who has like playoff aspirations, coming off a Super Bowl loss. Like among the most elite teams in the NFL, and the wheels appear to just be falling off this Philadelphia team. I was thinking about it actually during the week, and there's some really funny stuff if you kind of think about karma and Super Bowls, where Philadelphia defeats New England in the Super Bowl ages ago, and absolutely embarrasses Matt Patricia. Like, if I remember correctly, they hung like 45 points on the Pats. Matt Patricia would go on, I believe, to head coach the Detroit Lions and put up some of the worst defenses you've ever seen. And then this year he'd end up on Philadelphia. And now we'll leave that storyline behind for a moment. And we talk about Philadelphia last year in the Super Bowl. They would get torched pretty hard by the Kansas City Chiefs with Jonathan Gannon as the defensive coordinator. And now Jonathan Gannon, is the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. And Matt Patricia is the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. So this is like an ultimate Super Bowl karma revenge bowl. And it turns out that Gannon got his guys up to battle. He probably was very incentivized to make people understand that Super Bowl loss was not necessarily his fault. He wasn't out there playing. And, just an insanely funny result, really, when you consider all parties involved. And yeah, Matt Patricia, his karma had to be absorbed somewhere, so he ended up somehow back on the Eagles, coaching a pretty questionable defense. All right, now that all that's out of the way, all my karma theories are finished, we'll move on. We took San Francisco to cover the 13.5-point spread over Washington. They do. Simple as that. San Francisco locks up the 1 seed in the NFC. All roads to the Super Bowl go through San Fran. And then, of course, angry about the Tommy DeVito situation, I took the Rams to cover. They look pretty good, but then all of a sudden a punt return goes for 7 against them. They do not cover the 6.5-point spread, but they win by 1, kind of the ultimate bad outcome for a hater like myself. The Rams lock up a playoff spot. Seahawks fans just reeling. We'll say more about that in a moment. And then this match, I thought, I was fairly confident in this one, as I am with all my picks, good or bad. We took New England plus 11.5. Buffalo isn't really blowing anyone out, and New England played the pretty scrappy game. They lose 21-27. Buffalo, they take care of business, but they do not cover that big old spread. New England's defense is just a little too tight for that. Things go the way I thought. Now, this one was tough. We took Tennessee plus 3.5. They would only score 3 points. Like we always say, 3 points is not going to be enough in the NFL. The other team scored 26. 3.5-point spread was not enough to help. Another really funny result from this weekend, actually, was Miami versus Baltimore. It just, when you were watching this game, it just felt like Baltimore was scoring on like every drive. Like, they just couldn't stop throwing. Like, Miami came out with an early lead, then Baltimore scored a touchdown. I believe Miami had 10 points. Baltimore scores a touchdown, and another, and another, and another. By the end of the game, Miami has 19, Baltimore has 56. The 3.5-point spread was pretty irrelevant. Just an absolute thrashing of an 11-win team by Baltimore. Over the last couple weeks, I think they've really separated themselves from the rest of the league. They lock up the number one spot in the AFC. All roads to the Super Bowl lead through Baltimore in terms of AFC teams. They are, an absolute elite ass kicker. I've been betting on them for the last bunch of weeks, and it's worked out for me. We like this Baltimore team. And then if you go back to moving on. If you go back to last week, I predicted the Seahawks minus 3.5, or that's what I bet. I also said I would not be surprised if Pittsburgh backup comes into Seattle and beats us, and that is what ended up happening. I watched this whole game wire to wire and hated every second of it. I was just so frustrated with the Seahawks' whole game plan and decision-making process. Like, there were just a bunch of really questionable decisions by the Seahawks throughout that game. I was like yelling at the television. Now, this week, if the Seahawks win, they have a 60% chance of making the playoffs. They are going to need some help from other teams' results. So, as a Seahawks fan, I am not really super hopeful that they even make the playoffs at this point. We are down bad. I don't even really know if I want to see them in the playoffs, but I'll cheer for them as long as they're alive. But I have to say I'm very upset. Okay. Then after that we had Cincinnati at Kansas City. This was a very close game when you include the spread. Kansas City wins by 8. The spread 7.5. Lose by a half point. That's a tough one for your boy. And yeah, Kansas City improves to 10-6, and they are very confidently in the playoffs. We got the Chargers at the Denver Broncos. I took the Chargers plus 5.5, and they would, including the spread, lose by 1.5 points. Tough loss again. Denver just doesn't look all that great. They've benched Russell Wilson. That scenario is evolving as time goes on. It's something I want to kind of watch because so far this Russell Wilson acquisition has been a total tire fire, and there's a chance it actually gets worse. People were reporting that he had been cut earlier in the week, but I don't think that's turned out to be true. I believe he's just been benched, but the whole dynamic with him being benched is very interesting because there's a whole bunch of guarantees in his contract language that make him very difficult to cut unless they sort of renegotiate it or something like that. So that'll be kind of funny to monitor going forward. So then we got Green Bay at Minnesota. This one I also was very confident about. I said, why is Green Bay getting points? I don't care that they're away. Jordan Love's been playing very nicely. Minnesota's on their 4th string QB for the year. He's a guy I don't know anything about. If you're moving off of Nick Mullen, I feel like I should know who the guy is at this point in time. Either way, it worked out. 33-10. We're getting points. It was an easy win. Now we're moving on to week 18. We got some Saturday games this week. No Thursday games. No Monday games. But we got Saturday and Sunday. We got first game of the week. We got Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I think this is a pretty interesting line. I think Baltimore should be resting some players, in Pittsburgh, I think, will be going for it. Baltimore's at home. I don't believe they're going to be resting their players the whole game because of something I read that Harbaugh said. So I'll be taking Baltimore. I like that they're getting points at home. Tyler Huntley is no slouch. I think their roster is significantly better than the Steelers. I think they'll be playing for pride. These divisional games, these teams don't like each other. This AFC North has been a nasty division as long as I can remember. We're taking the points. We're taking the home dog. We're taking the Baltimore Ravens. Now we got Houston at Indianapolis. This is going to be a wild game. I believe the winner of this one. Well, all these teams in the AFC South are at 9-7. Houston, Indy, and Jacksonville. One of these teams is going to the playoffs. I don't know exactly how all the permutations work, but I kind of feel like I like Indy. We'll take Indy minus a half point at home. We'll see how this goes. We got a quarterback like Houston's either playing their second stringer, or you got Stroud coming back off a concussion. It'll be a tough ask to have him come in and just take the team straight from like among the worst to a playoff team. We'll see how it goes. But we're taking the home team minus a half point. And we got Atlanta at New Orleans as the first morning game on Sunday. I'll be taking New Orleans. This Atlanta team has disappointed me way too many times. I feel like they have all the talent in the world, but they just can't put anything together. But also, I'm not that the New Orleans Saints are a super reliable team either. I just feel like at home, they've got a chance to, hang something on Atlanta there. And then, if you haven't noticed, all of the matchups this week are divisional matchups. So we got Jacksonville at Tennessee. Tennessee's getting 4.5 points. I will be taking Jacksonville just because this Tennessee team has faltered many, many times this season. And I as much as I like to trust them regularly, I cannot trust them this year. I think they've been one of the reasons I've performed so poorly. I blame them and not myself. It's Tennessee's fault. Okay, then we got Minnesota at Detroit. I am taking Detroit not only because the Seahawks need Minnesota to lose for some help making the playoffs, but also because I think Detroit are just significantly better, and they're playing at home. Then we have the Jets getting 2.5 points at New England. Easy bet. We're taking New England minus 2.5 at home. New England's kind of finding some form at the end of the year here. The Jets are not. Like, Bill Belichick very, very rarely loses to the Jets. It might be the case that he hasn't lost them in forever. I haven't fact-checked any of this. This is just a vibe I'm getting. All right, then we have Tampa Bay, 8-8, at Carolina, 2-14. Carolina's getting 5.5 points at home. Now, they baited me into taking them last week, and I won't be making that mistake again. Last week, Panthers owner, who we've talked about on the podcast before, David Tepper, was filmed throwing his drink at a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. The league would give him a $300,000 fine, which to a guy worth $20 billion is not all that much, amazingly. But either way, if the results on the field weren't bad enough, the results on the field are getting worse. Everything seems to be on fire in Carolina. Tampa Bay has the chance to squeak out some relevancy. We're taking Tampa. Then we've got Cleveland getting 5.5 points at Cincinnati. I'll be taking Cleveland here. I think that Cleveland, again, they'll probably be resting some starters, but I like these points in these divisional matchups. We're just gonna take that. Cincinnati burned me, and I'm tired of them. Now we've got Seattle minus 2.5 versus Arizona getting 2.5. I feel so bad about this, but I'm clicking the Seattle button. Moving on. We got Chicago plus 3.5 at Green Bay. I will be taking Green Bay. This is not helpful for Seattle making the playoffs, but I think it's what's going to happen. You know, they need to win one game and they're in. And I feel like Matt LaFleur is going to get the boys up to play. I feel like Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur versus Fields and Eberflus, I'll take the home team. Seems reasonable to me. Now this is a fun line here. We got Philadelphia minus 5.5 versus the 5.5 point home dog New York Giants. A few weeks ago, we were saying Giants, Cardinals, Giants. Philly's like just gonna cruise through that. Now, the lines have moved from things like 11 to like 5. That being said, I'm still gonna pick Philadelphia. I'll hold my nose and hope that they can, slide into the playoffs here. Kind of like Ace Ventura parking a car. Hit the e-brake and just spin out but land safely in his parking spot. Like a glove. Then we've got the LA Rams at the San Francisco 49ers. The Rams are getting points. I feel like the Niners should be resting guys. They locked up the 1 seed. The Rams, I feel like, need the win more than the Niners. I'll take the Rams. As sad as it makes me to say. Okay. Then we got Denver at Vegas. I'll be taking Denver with the points. They need to figure out what they're doing without Russell, if that's what's going on. Either way, I like Denver in that spot. Then we got KC getting points on the road against the Chargers. This is a strange line, a strange game. I don't know who is incentivized to win more. I think KC's locked into their spot. I don't think any team can get ahead of them in the division at this point. Let's see. Yeah. Denver and Vegas cannot get ahead of them. The Chargers are well behind. Getting points with Kansas City feels like cheating. We'll do that. We'll take that. And then we got Dallas at Washington for the last game of the afternoon. Dallas is 13.5 point favorites over Washington. I think they'll be playing for it. Either one of Dallas and Philadelphia, depending on the outcomes this week, can be the winner of the division. I think they'll be going for it. And, it's up to Washington to play spoiler. That's a big line. But, Dallas is, it seems like they're getting hot at the right time, outside of, the referees, helping them win games and stuff like that. All right, and then we have the final game of the night, the final game of the regular season. Buffalo, minus 2.5 at Miami. Miami's getting points at home. They can knock Buffalo out of the playoffs, I believe, if they win this game. I believe Miami can have a seeding advantage if they win this game. I'll be taking Miami. Also, I believe that Miami probably wants to play a decent game, considering how poorly last week went. I would not want to coast into the playoffs after a beating like that. That being said, who knows what they'll do. Let's say it's going to be 28-27. So that is 55. All right. That's it for me. That's it for my regular season picks. Let's talk about what our favorite bets of the week are. I think I'll be taking Kansas City plus 1.5. Miami plus 2.5. Baltimore plus 3.5. Tampa Bay minus 5.5, and New England minus 2.5. Those are the best bets. And my lock of the week, I feel like it should be somewhat obvious. It's just Dallas to beat Washington. And that's it. That's it for me for the regular season. We'll be back to do some postseason gambling because we won't be doing the same format. We'll find other stuff to talk about for postseason gambling purposes. But that's it. That's it for the regular season for me. Thanks everybody for watching all year. Appreciate all that. Remember to hit like, subscribe if you're liking what you're seeing. Tell me what's going on in the comments. Tell me what I'm getting wrong, what I'm getting right. Give me some corrections. See y'all next week. Peace.